Hey, folks, we're back for another episode of Real Talk Fishing with No Limits, brought to you by Seagar's High Performance Braids and 7 Reels, created by Sync. We are going to get down and dirty today with the man who has all the insight on the tournament circus this year, Mr. Jeff Kelm, who is the tournament director for the NWC, the NWT, the NTC, working out of the Walleye Federation, which kind of manages a lot of these things and owns the MWC. We're going to get down there and get some updates on what to expect, what's coming up, any changes in the tournaments, and just kind of what's going on in that space, and maybe a little insight to what's coming up for next season as well, as we are breaking into tournament season here in just a matter of a few short weeks away, I believe, for the first MWC out of Spring Valley. So we're going to get an update from Jeff himself. So stay tuned. We got a lot of good information I know a lot of you have been asking about and interested in. So this is the one you want to hear from Mr. Jeff Kelm.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about this new line that Seagar introduced this year. It's been on the market for a couple years, but it's been over in Japan. They just brought it over to the United States this year, and I absolutely love it. It's called PEX8. This is by far the thinnest diameter braid I have ever used. This is still an 8-strand braided line with such a thin diameter. It's unbelievable. I'm using an 18-pound test today, and it feels like 2-pound. The advantages to this thin diameter is if it's windy out, I'm not catching much wind, I get less bow in the line. High pressure situations where the fish are, taking on a lot of fishing pressure, a thinner diameter line, less visible, of course. Current in the rivers, I'm going to cut the current a little better. I'm going to get better control, and they did all this without losing any of its strength. This stuff is still strong as all the Seagar braided lines, and the sensitivity is second to none. So check this out. This is PEX8 over at Seagar.com.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Real Talk Fishing with No Limits. I'm your host, Brian Bashore, and today we're going to get the scoop from the man who pretty much knows everything there is to know about the fishing tournaments in the walleye world going on, because he runs them all. So it's Mr. Jeff Kelm. How we doing today, Jeff? And I know you're back from just another big USA ice fishing competition.
Yeah. Hi, Brian. Yeah, man, I just finished up trying out for the USA Ice team once again. And yeah, I didn't make the team as an angler this time. That's kind of a new feeling. That was a hard one, but had a good time. I love hanging out with these guys. Nick Schertz was there. A lot of folks know him, of course, been on your podcast, been in the fishing world, the walleye world for a long time.
Yeah, that's if you guys haven't seen it, go back and watch the episode with Nick on it. It's a very interesting space, that world ice fishing competition stuff you guys deal with. It all deserve a lot of respect for it. It's very challenging, and it's not even comparable to how the open water tournament stuff works. I mean, not one bit.
No, it's really hardly comparable to even how we fish, just ice fishing here. I mean, it's
yeah.
You're relegated to a zone, and the baiting techniques and all of that it's pretty crazy.
It is. Well, we can't win them all, we can't make them all, but there's always that next guy on the list and step up, and that's a year from now. So like you said earlier, there's a lot of time between now and then. Things can happen, and you can still squeeze in somehow. So let's just, for everybody that doesn't know, Jeff, you're not paying a lot of attention to the tournament world if that's the case, but for those that don't, kind of explain what your role is pretty much with the Walleye Federation and how it's set up and its role.
Yeah, so I'm the National Tournament Director for the Northern region for Federation Angler. So what that basically encompasses is I'm the Tournament Director for the Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's Masters Walleye Circuit, the Bass Pro Shops Cabela's National Team Championship, the Bass Pro Shops Bass Pro Shops Cabela's National Walleye Tour. We run a number of different events, kind of one-off events. We assist with the Mercury Nationals event in Fond du Lac every year. Run the Sturgeon Bay Open Bass Tournament, one of the largest smallmouth events in the nation each year. We also, of course, as the Federation, we run the High School Fishing World Finals and National Championships there, and I assist with that. And so there's quite a bit, that we balance throughout Federation Angler, and on the northern side, we're talking walleye. I mean, it's just about anything walleye. I've got my hand in it, and probably tournament direct, or have tournament directed some of it, some portion along the way.
You guys stay awfully busy, and that the busy season is just about to kick off. So I'm sure you got to enjoy that winter downtime, but you're not at home all summer. Basically, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're on the
Yeah.
road.
It's a lot of stuff, a lot of time on the road, and on the northern side, we all know it. We get ice, right? So like we have this
Well,
very small window that we got to get all of these different events in, and it's one after the next. It makes scheduling a bit of a bear at times, trying to avoid this, that, and the other thing that's going on, and all the local clubs, they've all got events and trying to get things in as well. It's tough.
you touched on that a little bit. So for people that don't know, maybe they do now. They understand that the federation encompasses all of this, and then the Bass Federation, and there's only one set. There's only one Jeff, so you can only be in so many places at one time. Explain kind of how you can determine where you go and scheduling, and I mean, I think it's obvious all the things you have to juggle, but
Yeah, yeah. It starts with some of the events that are an always or never type thing. So we got some of our events are like Sturgeon Bay Open Bass Tournament is
yeah,
always the weekend after Mother's Day, and Federate or the Mercury Nationals is always the weekend before Father's Day. Those are the ones that are like, okay, we got to schedule around that,
yep.
and the National Team Championship, the NTC, that'll float around, but the request is they want that a little bit more into the summertime or as best as possible, so you try to get some of these on a schedule. Okay, this is where it has to be. Spring Valley MWC coming up. It's always the end of March every year or somewhere in those last couple of weekends, and that's where it starts. And then we go from there, and you get 30 weekends at best, as long as ice allows, and you got to fit 22 events or so in the mix.
That's like you got 30 weekends to fit 40 tournaments in, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's probably what it feels like on your end. So,
Yeah.
and then you got to work with the chambers and the cities or whatever municipalities
Yeah.
where you're going and kind of
Yeah.
what works for them, right? When they don't want you to come in, or maybe they want you to come in a downtime,
Yeah.
to boost it.
A huge thing is working with any of the hosts. If they've got conferences at a private resort or something like that, they're like, man, we'd love to have you, and we know it's good fishing, but we don't have room to put anglers. Or we got communities that say, there's no hotel rooms available. We've got the gymnastics state championship or whatever, whatever it may be that's going on. And then you've got the states themselves and permitting. You've got some states
Yep.
that are far more difficult to work with, in the sense that they're not necessarily difficult, but they've got very specific rules that they follow that they won't move off of. Minnesota has disallows a release tournament between Memorial Day and Labor Day, so it makes it difficult to go into Minnesota anytime. Really, from their opener, you've only got a couple of weeks there after their
Right.
opener before they shut that down, and then after September we can do some stuff. But there's a lot of events that are wrapping up their season at that point, because we're starting to now get into the hunting seasons and things like that. So
Yeah, we have that
all that stuff makes a challenge.
same deal here in South Dakota. It's kill tournament after 1st of June, I think, through
Yeah,
September.
1st of June. Yeah, basically June into September. For September 1st, and
North Dakota's the same way, I believe.
yeah, North Dakota actually just opened it up. North Dakota allows catch and release tournaments now year round. They will, but that was new this last year in 2024.
Right.
So
Yeah,
and that's the other part of it. It's like trying to know what each state is doing and changing.
Yep.
And it's sometimes a surprise on my end too.
Yeah, I know we had to obviously move the Bismarck tournament to Sharpe, but that was probably more permitting issues because there's only so many, and they have the regular local tournament there this time of year and other ones, and they obviously take precedence. I get it. So
yeah, and and sometimes through conversations, you touch on each aspect. You work with DNR, you work with the host communities, and you try to make sure that everybody's involved in each aspect. But all the folks from DNR, they're not just worried about my tournament and things like that. And so sometimes you do your best to get a schedule out, and all of our schedules are always pending permit. We have to make sure we do it the right way, and that was just one that unfortunately we could not make work due to the capacity event. They wouldn't allow us to go up over 100 boats, and the NWT we were averaging at that 125, so we really would like to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing from the bass world that entries are down. A lot of those are limited, and the opens are
Mhm.
200 something and what have you. But
Sure.
that depends, and there's all sorts of speculation of why that is. Forward facing sonar, people don't like it. Some people
Sure.
love it. Vice
Sure.
versa, economy. I
Yeah.
mean, I can
Yeah.
attest to that. Secondhand, last year was expensive, and when you have a really crappy year and don't want any money, it's really expensive. So
Yeah. 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 It's real tough.
yeah,
But
it's
it's,
not
you
like
know,
entry fees; it's gas, lodging, food. I mean, it adds up. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you almost, I did tournaments long enough too, in the ice side of things. You look at the entry fee and you're like, I can handle the entry fee. It's the
yeah.
7 days in a hotel now. It's the gas back and forth to the lake now. And, in your case is, the amount of gas in a boat just so that you're not going to get beat. Because somebody is going to go, 70, 80 miles away from the launch. So I got to at least go
Yep.
check it out, and yeah, that all adds up. And I don't know that we're down any significant numbers as far as entry fees or not entry fees, but entry participants at this point. Um, I think we've seen the same ebb and flow as some of the bass
Right.
world, where it's almost like, what did the news look like this week? And
Right.
entries pick up a little bit or something. If somebody feels good about something, it'll pick up a little. But
Yep.
um,
Weather
you know,
weather plays a big into that, and
yep,
and I think a lot of it is there's just a ton of tournaments out there. So there's
there
local
it is.
things going on every weekend almost, and,
Yeah,
and guys are just kind of looking, and those you can jump in a lot of last minute. So that's
you know,
they look at the weather, they practice, they're like, all right, things are good. In our case, NWT or NWC, you got to be out, a couple weeks, but that's
yeah.
still, I mean, obviously that 2 week mark, I imagine those last day of sign up is outside the first day is probably the biggest day for registration.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody's finally making that commitment, and close at 5 o'clock East Central Time, and between 4:45 and 5 o'clock, it's nonstop. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I got to get in. They got to get that done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a 14-day forecast is a little more accurate than a 2 or 3 month, and then maybe some of the guys had a chance to go do some pre-fishing or got a word on what the bite is and what have you. And
Yeah.
so you got Spring Valley coming up in just a matter of a few weeks, and weather always plays into that bad boy.
Yeah, we were
It's
looking at the month-long forecast on the way down to Oklahoma last night, and obviously month-long. You just touched on it. It's
right.
hard to say, but right now they're not seeing any like major cold fronts. Like I don't think we're going to get to like single digits or even freezing temps. I mean,
All right.
but yeah, you don't know this far out. Spring Valley is a crapshoot. I mean, my goodness, I have been there in just about anything, and I've only been doing this is my ninth season on the circuit. And I can't imagine some of the guys have been doing it for 30 years what they've seen. But the biggest thing with Spring Valley right now, because we just haven't had historically a ton of snow melt, is
Yeah.
what's the rain going to do? Is that going to affect anything? And as long as we don't get any major flooding, the pool level stays relatively stable. The guys will find some fish, and it's always a good time to get out there with that group of guys who just excited to get the boat in the water,
No.
excited to put their hands on some fish that don't have ice floating around them and things like that.
Well, it's a pretty healthy fishery. It's a fun place to fish. I was just fished it the one time when they're NWT and you had MWC and NWT back to back, and caught a lot of fish. It's a Sauger, predominantly fishery, but obviously,
Mhm.
it was one with a 7 pound, 8 pound walleye. So they're
Yeah,
they're there.
yeah.
And I think it was one last year by a couple walleye. If you can hook into those, you are definitely got the upper hand.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen it across the board. I mean, I remember Jeff Lahr one year.
no,
He came down and he's a river rat, and him and Scarless always did well. Scarless wasn't there. Jeff was fishing, I think, with a brother or cousin or something. And I mean, watching the walleyes that they managed to pick off, he kind of figured out where there was just a small pack. And
no,
if you can figure out where the walleyes are sitting against those saugers, even if you got
yep,
healthy saugers, it's going to be tough.
yep,
Um, but it's a fish factory. I mean, you come down. I think everybody gets in it and feels like, man, I got a chance
yep.
if I can put at least five solid looking saugers in the box each day. You got a chance, because if somebody doesn't get them walleyes,
Yep.
you're in the mix.
Yeah, you need a pre-spawn sauger basically to match up with with a
Mhm.
walleye. But you're looking at 9 to 12 pounds a day. You can get in that 10-pound range.
Yeah,
You're in it,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
doesn't sound like very much, but when you're
Right,
doing
right.
saugers, I mean that's 5 decent sized saugers. So,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
and it's first tournament. I mean, they just had a freeze your butt off tournament up on the Mississippi, but like I said, everybody's just eager to go. The jumping, you always have a pretty good turnout. A lot of locals show up.
Yep.
Community's pretty good there, and it's just river fishing, so it's anybody's got a chance. You can stumble into a pot of something. And the trick is that river
Absolutely.
fishing, though, you get them at practice and they're long gone. I mean,
Yeah,
the fish
they
move a ton.
move. Yeah, they move a ton. You see it all the time, one clam bed to the next or whatnot, or just in that transition. And yeah, what you think you wanted to stay off of on Thursday, not
Right.
beat them up, and you get there Friday and you're like, I don't even know where they went. They left the water. I have no clue.
And you hit on it. It's all about the runoff there because it's not the cleanest water by all means, but you get some rain, or I think we're pretty safe to say we're not going to get a lot of snow melt. But here we are. It's like almost snowing in South. It is on the like an hour out of Sioux Falls, snowing like crazy in South Dakota today.
Sure,
But it's going to be
sure.
60,
Yeah,
Sunday or Saturday and
yeah,
Sunday, and they'll be on the river fishing. They'll be on the river in 2 days fishing.
yeah.
Um, Rain, who knows if we're going to get any rain or not? But you get a little front that comes through a day or two for that tournament. That becomes just a disaster.
Yeah, yeah, it really can be tough, and you see it both ways. And I remember just a few years ago. Well, I mean, this is maybe 6 7 years ago. We had probably one of the best fishing days there. Was miserable weather day. It kind of just hit it right as that front was coming through.
Mhm.
Guys just covered in snow. I mean, head to toe. There's a picture of Ali Shakur just like, I mean, snow white,
Yeah.
but he's got two rods in his hands. They caught the heck out of fish, you just you got to try. You got to have a bait in the water. You got to try. You got to be there.
Yeah, it's a fun tournament. I recommend everybody, if you haven't done it, I would, get in on it, and I definitely wouldn't be opposed to going back there sometime. Maybe
Yeah,
not in March, but at least
yeah,
push it to the very, very end, which I think you did last time the NWT was there.
yeah,
But its
yeah,
weather is completely out of our hands. It could be 55 and sunny and beautiful out too. So,
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's going to be this weekend, like it was last weekend. So,
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. So speaking of MWC, what's new on the schedule, or just in the rules or payouts or format with the
Sure.
MWC going into 2025? Anything
Yeah. So
news to us?
2025, the Masters Walleye Circuit works is we qualify for the 26 World Walleye Championship during the 25 season. So we run a World Walleye Championship. Our championship runs the year after the qualifying season. And there's some logistical things, and actually I'll touch on some of that here in a little bit about
Yep.
some of our decisions that we're throwing back and forth. But right now we're looking at the 2025 season. The Team of the Year prize has increased for this season, went from 10,000 to 15,000. Some of that is in gift cards. Some of that is in stipend, when travel stipend for the following year. So the $15,000 Living the Dream package out of the Team of the Year will get you $1,000 Bass Pro Shops Cabela's gift cards. It gets you entries to 4 events in the 26 season. It'll also get you lodging for 5 nights in the 26 season, and it'll get you $1,000 travel stipend at every event, or all 4 events that you choose there in the 26 season, plus the 2026 NTC. You'll get a entry and lodging at that event as well. So, I mean, it's pretty solid package for guys that want to stick with the team fishing and battle it out. You get on that by 4 events, your best 4 events in the Masters Walleye Circuit season out of the 7 qualifiers, and a great opportunity. The Hertensteiners won it this last year. John and Ross. John Hertensteiner's been fishing professional walleye tournaments for a long, long time. Got out of it when Ross was a kid, and now Ross is old enough to fish with. And Ross is dragging him back in the boat, and they've done well this
Yeah.
last year. They had a good time. They won Spring Valley last year, and really had a great, kind of a dream season for them. And they're excited to get back out here in 2025 and battle it out. The 2026 World Walleye Championship, which the anglers are going to qualify for here in this season, will be a 40 boat event. Typically, we've been at the 35 with a few invites from special events, the NTC, former World Walleye champions, stuff like that. But it'll be a 40 boat field for 2026. We will fill the field if we need to go down the list in points, but that will be with premier teams, starting with premier teams down to 50th. So on top of having the advantage of delayed billing and a substitute that you're allowed when you sign up as a premier team in the Masters Walleye Circuit, you'll also be first choice if we go down the list to fill the World Walleye Championship as well. So an added benefit for being a premier team. And
when I talk about cost for a premier team,
no extra cost for premier team. What you're doing is you're committing to 3 events basically before you fish your first one. You're saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to do Spring Valley, I'm going to do Mowbridge, and I'm going to do Beta Knock, and I'm going to sign up for all of those. I'm going to pay for Spring Valley now. They're not going to bill me for Mowbridge and Beta Knock till we get closer to the event. Plus, I know that my partner can't make it to Beta Knock, but because I'm a premier team, I can pick somebody else right now before I start fishing. He's going to be or she's going to be my sub, and my points track. I won't be creating a new team. So it's really a great advantage. Obviously, you never know what's going to happen down the road throughout the season. Somebody gets sick, something happens. But if you know you're going to fish some of these events, it's worth doing the premier team, but you have to do it before your first event. Otherwise, you're locked into that team. And then if a partner can't go, it's a lot harder. There's a few circumstances where you can use like an emergency sub, like a immediate family member, or you can fish alone if you want to. In most circumstances, as long as safety, is observed, or I can put an observer in the boat. So.
Right. So if you have a sub that's not whatever, doesn't fit those circumstances, your points don't count.
Yeah, your points don't. You become a new team. You become a new team, and so the points won't track. But
seems like a no-brainer to be a premier team, because if you're signing up for team of the year, you know you're going to fish, 4 of the 7 anyway, and you got out of your 7, you're pretty scattered all across the Midwest, so guys can pick and choose, how far they want to travel.
Usually, don't have to travel too much for like 2 of them, maybe a little bit more for a third. And go from there. And that's what we try to look at in a schedule. Obviously, talking about the schedule earlier, sometimes it's just tough to get that to work. But it is a consideration that we look at. So, and then the other thing with the 26 World Walleye Championship. So again, what the guys are what the anglers are qualifying for in this season for 2026 is the 50% of the field will get paid out cash, and then the remaining 50% will be gift cards. So it'll load the top side a little bit more with cash, whereas for the last number of years, we've paid out cash all the way to the bottom. Everybody who fished the World Walleye Championship got a check, and it'll remain that everybody who fishes all qualifying days for the World Walleye Championship still receives something, but cash will go to the top 50%, and after that it'll be gift cards. So, and then the other thing we're looking at is possibly moving the World Walleye Championship into the same qualifying year, which logistically can be a lot when you're talking about an event that has historically run a year after. You've got money transfer, you have to announce it so far ahead of time because we're qualifying. So it's a discussion we're having right now. If there's any changes, it would be 26, and what we would do is we double the field size, we double the payout size, all of that to get it to transfer from 26 and beyond. So you may fish the 26 season, you may fish the 25 season and qualify, you may fish the 26 season and qualify, double that money, double your payout, the whole deal. And then 26, 27 and beyond would be in the same year at the end of the season. So still a lot to work out with that. Obviously it's a huge commitment when you're looking at, I got to fish at least 3 qualifiers and then I got to commit to a championship. So you're committing to 4 events in a season, stuff like that. You know, we're exploring all of that, what that really looks like for our clientele, for our base of masters walleye circuit anglers. But it is a consideration. So.
But that puts that into the fall, which is great fishing, and most people like
Mhm.
to. Of course, you run up against all sorts of hunting and football and whatever else.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
you sign up for it, you know what you're getting into. So
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise. But I think it would make it easier on you not having to carry that money over.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're trying to put that new World Walleye Championship. I don't know when you typically have it in the fall of the next year.
Yeah,
Because it's hard to squeeze
typically
it in
have
the
it in the
summer.
fall. Yeah, no, we typically have it in the fall. So you know, it wouldn't move that time frame. You know, it would just move it so that we finish that year. We can close the books on that year. We finish off team of the year with that event and the whole deal. You know, I mean, I think ultimately it would encompass a good change, and it's a change that some teams here recently have asked about as well, just because they walk into the program and don't realize that, the championship's next year. Okay, all right, well, that's fine.
All right. Well, then it's a team thing. So now, can you or your partner make it the following year?
Yep.
You know,
Or you get a
kids getting
fall
married, or
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
totally see how that happens. That happens plenty in the fishing world, and that's the whole. I don't do a lot of the team stuff because of that dynamic. It's so that's a whole nother. It's a mental game, period, as it is.
Yeah.
But now you are with another, a buddy, whoever it is, or a spouse in a lot of cases, which that's, kudos to those guys and gals that can do that together.
That's an interesting dynamic sometimes.
It is. I mean, you can get through that. You're solid. You guys' marriage you're good to go.
That's right.
But you're butting heads, and 2 guys that are both boat captains, and I mean I fished with Randy and then Scott. We've done these team things, and it works out great. But you got to find just that perfect kind of balance of who is. Like I'm very go, and when I fish with Randy, he's very chill, laid back. So it's a nice balance, and it's never a, hey, do you want to do this or that? It's just like, hey, I think we need to go do this. And the guy's like, right on, let's do it. But you get so much of, I don't want to go there and do that. We need to go here and do this. And it's, I mean, obviously your practice is going to dictate a lot of that, but building that up and that dynamic that's tricky stuff. So
it is. Yeah.
Kudos to them team guys that can do that stuff. And that's what I mean. 95% of the walleye tournaments out there are team circuit stuff. Right. So it's not, new news by all means. And then even on the program side, you still kind of have that, except for the whole decision-making process is I'm making a call and you're coming along for the ride. That's that. I don't have to worry about it. But you still have another angler in a boat you need to consider and think, and how am I going to utilize this person? I mean, it's a different, completely different aspect, but I don't want you to sit here. I need to utilize you. This means 2 more rods, right? 2 more baits.
If you're going to help me, I want it, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Now, I'll just be blunt that they don't always help you.
They don't always help.
But your teammate doesn't always help you neither. Sometimes, and sometimes you don't help yourself. So that's just fishing tournaments for you. All right. Do you still? I know last year you had a 10,000 guarantee first spot, I think, in MWC.
Yep. So for World Walleye Champion, or throughout the season,
right?
Yeah. So payout structure will remain there, and we'll continue to run in that sense. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you had a sponsor stepped up and got that, because it's just, I mean, that's what a lot of people are waiting on, is see where the number of, since you're so based off entries to determine the payout, which is always tricky. It's the whole cat and mouse game in the walleye world. Why so many people wait till the last minute, and clubs will put out a list and they're like, oh, we're 2 weeks out and only 30 guys signed up. And they're like, well, that's not worth my time, because the payout's going to be $800 or something. They're like, it was a great thing to have in 24. We had a couple of events that for one reason or another just didn't hit the numbers we had expected when we put a schedule out, and yet winning teams still came home with a nice check to at least fill the gas tank and make it worth traveling. And contingencies, which most people kind of overlook. I mean, White River
Yep.
Marine Group's putting out some contingency money out there.
Yep.
So
Still got Ranger Cup. We've got Lawrence on the Masters Walleye Circuit side. They're doing a contingency for their exclusiveness. So if you're exclusive Lawrence in the boat, you got a chance for a bonus there. And then if you've got a Ghost or Recon trolling motor, you've got a chance an additional bonus as well. So and other contingencies are coming. We're working with some of that stuff out before we even get to Spring Valley. And I mean, in the last couple of years, we even had some sponsors jump on it a little bit later on, seeing what they were able to do and throw out some contingencies and that stuff. It kind of ebbs and flows. We talk about sponsorship and all that, and some people they figure out like, hey, this would be a good idea, and they come in just a little bit later on in the season, and we're happy to have them.
Whatever your skill or experience level is as an angler, you deserve a fishing reel that contributes to your success and satisfaction on the water and never detracts from it. From the makers of St. Croix Rods, 7 Reels, spelled SEVIIN, is born of 7 decades of design and manufacturing expertise, industry-leading angler support, and the American family ownership dating back to 1977. 7 Reels are designed and crafted for high performance and unrelenting reliability. Verified at least 16 different ways by extreme torture testing at 7's one-of-a-kind Park Falls, Wisconsin laboratory. 7 Reels are also proven on the water by the most demanding professional guides and tournament anglers. So by the time a 7 reaches your hands, it's ready for anything you throw at it. Guaranteed by the best and easiest warranty in the industry. Disappointment happens, but there should never come as a result of your reel. 7 Reels are tested, proven, and guaranteed to be the most reliable on the planet. Check out the entire lineup at 7reels.com. Take them when you can get them, and some last, some don't. And I mean, it's marketing in a sense. So a lot of times you got to be like, it looks great on purple. You throw a dart, and you're like, oh, it's stuck. That's great. And sometimes you're like, it didn't, because you don't necessarily know the demographic. You get a pretty good idea who's fishing what and what the anglers are buying and doing and what have you. But it's still out of your control whether the people pull the trigger on a lot of those products and buys or not. So like, we did everything we can do, but wherever they live locally had super discounted whatever this season, and so they, and I can't blame them. They saved a ton of money,
Sure,
timing, right? Timing's creates the success in business more often than not. It's about timing. So MWC entry is still $650, and you have side pot still.
Yep, still have side pot and all that you sign up for when you register. We close the week before, the Monday before the event, not a week before, the Monday before the event. So like Spring Valley closes on March 17th. So if folks want to get in on that, make sure they get in before the evening of March 17th and get in. You pay your side pot, which is like a bonus pot. Only the anglers that pay into the side pot get a chance at that money, and that pays down the same structure as the rest of the event. A 1 in 4 structure, a 20% structure, and go from there. So it works out well for anybody that's in it. I mean, I've seen that side pot really, really ramp up what somebody's going to take home, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see.
Yeah, all of a sudden 10 turns into 17 or something with contingencies, and now you could be pushing 20 grand on your 2-day fishing trip.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Contingencies and you got big fish too. Over on the MWC. So plenty of opportunities to win some money over there, folks. And I always tell people, fishing tournaments just make you a better angler. So if you're looking to get in, or just in tournaments in general, jump in wherever it is and whatever tournament it is, whether you win or lose, you learn something, and you're just fish more and more and more of them, and you're just going to get better. So
I mean, I can't believe the amount of conversations you hear at the bump sink and all that, and just the camaraderie at the end. Whether around the marina, the boat docks, the parking lot. Just hey, what did you figure out? What did you do? And you can pocket that type of stuff and be like, man, I think there was something there that you learned. I mean, I have donated a lot of money in my time. Ron, I'm sure you have as well. And and all of it comes with a learning opportunity for you to be a better angler the next time you go out, or just try something that you maybe find some new confidence in.
Yep. I've been a donator plenty, especially last year. It sucks, but you learn. You just got to walk away and go, all right, I learned what not to do or where to get your head right, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you'll watch a guy, and people have reached out to me because I've been that guy that you just put a clinic on right next to him, and they come up and they're like, what in the Sam Hill were you doing? Or what was it that you were, they think they're doing the exact same thing. And maybe it was a spot, maybe it was the cadence of the jig or the line they're using. And I'll break it down and tell them what it is. And they're just like, man, okay, I guess I'm going to try that. I'm going to go out and run and buy some of that Seagar fluorocarbon or whatever it is. Because, man, that seemed to make a difference. You caught like 10 fish and we caught one, And I've been on spots for pitching. I look over and there's literally two guys in the boat just not even fishing at that point. They just stand there and they're just looking at you. They're just watching. And you're just like, hi, and they're like, okay. Eventually they shake their head or they leave. If I'm the guy just watching the clinic, I leave. It's just too hard to swallow sometimes. I'm like, it's not it for me. I'm out of here. Good luck. No,
don't let it get in your head.
Yep, exactly. It is a head game. And as anglers, we play with each other's heads
all the time,
considerably, all the time. It's what's fun about it. It's what's fun. It's the doc talk, right? Is this true? I think Bass has put out an article on that last week from their Bassmasters thing. Like, is any of this real, or is this just playing with each other? And there's a few of us that are pretty straightforward with each other, and I'm like, I don't care. Yeah, I caught them here doing this, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be there tomorrow anyway, I'm pretty sure. So and I can't catch other people's fish, so it never does me good if they tell me something. I'm like, awesome, sweet. I'm not going there. So have your game plan, stick to it. So, all right, MWC going to NTC. So that is coming up out at Lake Francis Case this year, which you were there just a couple years ago for the NWT, basically going out of the same area, same launch, and about the same time of year.
Yeah, about the same time of year. It was a very successful NWT event. It was interesting how it was won. I mean, watching back on the television show, you can still hear me calling boats out as Dewey is catching fish, pretty consistently, catching good fish too. Obviously, he wasn't too far away from the launch and things. And
he's lucky we moved launches.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting for the guys to explore Lake Francis Case. I mean, first and foremost, the area is beautiful, man. That is a cool place to be. It's a neat time to be there because you're probably not going to be dealing with 95 degrees and all that. It should be relatively comfortable. Obviously, weather we just talked about, we can't predict it, but it should be good. Fun time of year to be there. Fish should be down on that side for the most part. They'll be spread out a little bit. There'll be some guys that decide they want to make a big long run. It's a big lake. You'll be able to make a long run if that's what you really want to do. But I think there'll be some things that surprise people too. I think there'll be some fish that maybe weren't touched or maybe weren't discovered back in the NWT week. And you get enough of these NTC anglers who in their own right are, on any given day, just as good as any other angler out there, regardless of their fishing in a club. It's not their fault that they got to go to work, 6 days a week, and this is their only time. They got it going on as well. And so it's a neat event to put on because you do get some of these guys that, if given the opportunity, they jump into that NWT side of things, the MWC side of things. They had the time frame, and they're going to compete. They are going to give you everything. The amount of anglers and teams out there that have multiple top 25 rings is pretty incredible. It means that their consistency of being able to travel across the country and beat 150, 200, 300 other teams out there to get into that top 25 is pretty cool. And so the dynamic is neat for the NTC.
It is. It's 300 boats is the max. Is that correct?
It's the max. Yeah, we'll cap out at 300. We'd love to see, every year it changes, when it comes to venue. And Lake Erie, we had 280 some teams out there. We had hit that 300, and life happens throughout the course of time.
Well,
and when you're dealing with
that many boats, you're gonna have some people. Boats break down, things just come up, and I'm sure in that last week you lose a dozen or more people.
Lose some, but Lake Erie's a destination fishery. I'm not saying Lake Francis Case isn't, but it's maybe not on as many radars as Lake Erie was, you know. But Lake Francis Case, I mean, you know yourself, has got some big fish in it.
Oh yeah.
And you got an opportunity to keep your hands wet all day long, an opportunity to think like, man, I'm in this. We just keep catching fish and we can play a numbers game. You know, we can be in this.
So the word on the street from last year was the lake was horrible. And
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, NTC's coming in. And a lot of people are like, there's too many tournaments coming, and I kept saying the lake's not horrible. It's very healthy. You guys are
Yeah.
just going and doing the same thing you've done every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's even since we were there just a few years ago, NWT has changed.
Yeah.
A lot of zebra mussels in the lake, water clears up, fish move, new vegetation grows. And we didn't have 20 days of ice. And we had a real minimal winter last year, which didn't kill the bait fish.
Sure.
So when you have a healthy fishery and you have a ridiculous amount of bait right away in the spring, they're good. They're not going to eat the fake junk you're throwing at them. They're full, you know,
Right.
and the biologist did a report of it this year, and they put out reports that fish are just above where they want them on the healthy threshold. Numbers are huge. Catch rate was way down.
Yeah.
Because people kind of quit going because it was tough.
Sure.
There was like one tournament I think was pretty good, but a lot of tournaments, 30, 40 boats, and there was just literally a matter of a few fish being brought in.
Sure.
You know, but they were graphing them, but they weren't biting. And I can already say that Chamberlain area and the upper half of the river is already open, and those fish are healthy, and there is an absolute ton of them, and they're scattered everywhere. So I think this year's going to be great. We had great ice. Lots of it, and that lower half is still very frozen, and there's plenty of residential fish down there, so it should be good. Just like you said, you should be able to keep your hands wet all day. Pretty sure a lot of that bait died off, which was basically the biggest factor I think in the last year. And there's going to be some different things. You're going to, like you said, there's going to be people doing different stuff, fishing different places. Because I know the guys that even went last year that don't normally go there, they did well because they didn't fish memories. They were just using electronics and just trying different stuff. And they're like, oh, seems fine to me. I'm like, because you went and did, I'm not giving out too much info here, but I'm like, you went here and you did this, right? And they're like, yeah, it's exactly what I did. I'm like, yeah, that's what I keep telling these other guys, but they just keep going to this deep water bite thing. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Sure.
So,
sure.
No.
Yeah, that's like I was saying, the dynamic is different. The guys are going to come in with the confidence of doing one thing or another that maybe they do back home, and nobody does that there, and end up finding something that works. And I mean, sometimes that exposes a body of water to some major changes because it kind of opens the floodgates for guys to go, well, I guess we'll all try it. But the fish also have fins, man. They change. They change themselves. They adapt pretty quickly to the pressures that be, and you know. I generally don't worry about too many of the places that we travel to and run tournaments that we're gonna, change the dynamic of the entire fishery.
No, and if you get 250 boats, that's a hell of a lot of fishing pressure.
Sure.
You know,
they may
all
move a
these
little
fish,
bit,
but it's also a hell of a big reservoir. So they do have fins. They will swim and they will move. So figure it out, people. There's different things with the NTC because it's a team thing. You get guys that don't fish a lot of tournaments sometimes, and they fish enough locally, but there are different dynamics with crowding and space, and some will possibly beat up some of those fish too much because they don't know the strategy that's involved with so much of this stuff. So us guys that do all this have to, I always say the best thing you can do at pre-fishing is just be observant. It's not even, watch your electronics and pay attention, but not so much about wetting the line as just paying attention on what's going on around you. If you're fishing community holes, you don't need to wet a line. You can watch everybody else catch them. Be like, all right, there's a pile of fish there. I'm not worried about catching them. These guys are all catching them. Good to go. Mark it and move on. But, pay attention that there's somebody keeps sneaking way, way back in this cove every day, and then as 2 or 3 boats come, that guy gets out of there. Might be a reason.
Got to be observant. I mean, that's the best. The best anglers are observant. They see pattern. They see different things that others that are just maybe out there for fun don't see.
Oh, the water clarity. See what's this. You hear it if you watch Bassmasters Live a lot. The guys will be like, "Oh, this looks different today," and same thing. Well, if it looks different today, it looks different to those fish today too, and they got fins, and they probably moved wherever there was. For being able to feel the current and the speed of your boat on your drift, so many little things, but being observant. It's just the key to pay attention to not just the other anglers, but all the little things around you, and water temp, water clarity, you're fishing
Yep.
rivers, currents huge.
Yeah.
And we talked about for your Spring Valley thing, the water clarity, that can totally just shut that whole, the whole system down in a
Yep.
sense. So,
Yep. Yeah. And some of those are such an intricate difference, Spring Valley in particular. I mean, you'll never find a spot in Spring Valley where you can see to the bottom.
right.
But you will find a mud line of sorts and things like that, and you'll find the same thing in algae blooms and different
Yep.
current themes and things like that. Where, boy, you just gotta watch it. Gotta watch it.
I could see 15. I could see bottom at 15 feet the other day at Francis Case.
Okay, yeah,
Up near the dam. So it's cold water. It's
Sure.
flowing. Further
Sure.
down you went. I mean, I could see the fish. I'm like, there they are.
Yeah.
It's carp. So I know I don't need to cast at them because the live scope says, hey, there's fish. I'm like, yeah, it's carp. I'm good. I had to move over, but I could see a few walleye. It won't be like that in June, and then that end's considerably deeper. But it'll get obviously, but it's still usually at least a 4 foot water clarity. It's nice water there. So yeah, if those that are coming, start digging and trying to find your lodging. It's always a tricky thing out there because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, which was what makes it so wonderful. But there is a bunch of trailers, and there's a great campground. If you got a camper, just, get on the North Point, the game fishing parks and get your campsite.
Yep. Airbnbs. I know a lot of folks have opened them up over the course of time. A lot more Airbnbs have opened up, but I know they're all excited to be there. Casinos, filling up fast if it's not already full at this point. There's a lot of other, the Wagner area has a couple of hotels, things like that. So, I would absolutely encourage everyone to make sure they take care of your lodging, and but then go and enjoy it. I know for some of these teams out there for the NTC, it's the one time they can take a week and just go fishing, and they're just there because it's an inexpensive opportunity to go out and have fun. And if they do well, they're tickled. But they get to meet some of these other guys year in and year out and have a good time with it.
The Fort Randall Casino, Wagner's got motels. Pigstown's got a 1 or 2. Platte, that's not that far away. People are going to still be fishing up there on that area. And Platte's got that's probably your biggest town with the most hotels.
Yep.
And I've had people reaching out to me for over 2 months already, wanting to know of Airbnbs or if I know of anybody. And I already have a list of private campers, trailers down by the boat ramp that this. I'm full. Don't ask me anymore. They're all already gone. But just keep digging around because they'll keep popping up. A lot of the locals have their weekend places there. Once they realized, like the NWT came, they realized, oh, hey, for $1,000, I can open this place up for the week, and I'm just going to not come this weekend. And they're like, sweet, and they're more than happy to do that. They're all really good people, which showed at the weigh-in at the NWT. I mean, that had to be the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have great crowds. I mean, you want to walk across the stage and have some eyes on you. I think that's going to be a good place for it. It should really be a lot of fun that way because they really turned out for the NWT. They turned out for the MWC that same year. They love it out there. I mean, it was really a spectacle, and they've only had those 2, so they're not bored of it or nothing. They want to see it back.
Yep, they want more of it, and there's not a whole hell of a lot else going on out here. So when something comes to town, it's a big deal. Let's go. The kids want to go. There's so many fishermen here, and the young kids coming up, the kids stuff. I mean, it just went over huge, and there was a ton of people. And I know immediately they were saying, "Come back, come on back." And you're gonna get some old timers are gonna bitch about it because we're catching all the fish and making the fishery horrible, and that's just the way it is. But the reality, that's not the case.
The reality is not the case. Yeah.
No, we're bringing more stuff into
area.
You're building up tourism, the dollars, the new fishing license. It all goes back into the system, and it's a win-win for everybody. So it's just the way it is. Yes, there's going to be a lot of fish caught and killed, and if you want some people, I'm sure that those anglers will be happy to give you their 5 or 6 walleye they brought in to weigh in. So great place to come pick up some dinner, people. So you can come to my boat because you can have them. So
there you go.
Meet me in the parking lot. I would imagine a lot of limits. So all right, we got NTC, MWC covered. Let's get into NWT. That one's coming. It's hard to believe it's just a month and a half away when we got weather like this today. But first stop at Lake Sharpe coming April 24th, 25th out of Pier, which is a great location because talking about lodging, the city of Pier is plenty big. And you're fishing right there. You're
Yeah,
5 minutes,
I mean, it,
wherever you
it,
stay, you're 5 minutes to the water. So,
exactly. And, there can be some really big fish caught in Lake Sharpe at that time of year. Um, you know, water, we won't be able to control water level. It's going to matter about how much rain. We talked about it earlier. Probably not worried about too much runoff and things like that from a big melt or anything like that. But, um, guys will have to watch their water level, have to watch, a lot of sandbars, things like that
you
out
know,
there. But and it's going to be probably spot on the spot type fishing. I mean, that's what a lot of those river systems end up being, especially if you're anywhere near a dam, maybe a specific area that you just got to be able to try to get to and concentrate on. But it could be very big fish, and I know that the community up here is looking forward to it.
yeah, they really kind of expanded their, the bass went out of there years ago, and I did feel like, and I was with the magazine, at the time covering it, and I'm like, where's the local support for this? They did like they showed up for the weigh-in, but as far as media coverages, they just didn't get it. And I'm like, this
Yeah,
is as big as it gets,
yeah,
in the bass world. This is huge. Why are you not here?
yeah,
And so I did on the water coverage and stuff. And now you have the NWT coming. So this is as big as it gets in the
yeah,
walleye world.
yeah,
Be here. I know
yeah,
Kurt Underhill's done a good job of getting the community, and I think he's on their chamber there, so
yeah,
they're understanding the value of these tournaments much more and bringing in that money. Because and honestly, there's not a whole hell of a lot. They always say the best thing about piers when you see it in the rearview mirror, and I would have to agree with that. But you get outside, it's our beautiful state capitals there, but you get outside of legislation sessions, there's not a lot there. I mean, the fishing's great. Lake
sure,
Sharpe's phenomenal. But the
yeah,
city up here itself, they're just, it stays busy during the, currently in this time of winter. And then, of course, come pheasant season, a lot of people are coming through
yeah,
pier, but it's got a lot
yeah,
to offer, a lot of lodging, a lot of restaurants, a lot of places, good food, great fishing, a couple of bait shops. But the fishing's phenomenal. There's going to be a lot of fish caught. They're already catching them up there.
hmm,
Some big females. And like I said, there's big fish caught. The MWC went out of there a long time ago. I fished it, and we know we caught a 30-inch at practice. And I
yep.
think day one, there was 2 or 3 30-inch walleyes brought in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were broaching or somewhere. This was before my time, but from my understanding,
Yep.
close to 14 pounds. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it was a big fish. So, are we going to see a 14 pounder? I can't promise that, but we
Yeah.
should see some big fish. And we're working with the fishing game, and we'll have the anglers will be allowed to trailer from Downs Marina to Steamboat. With water in the live wells, we're going to get those fish back into a release boat and back into Lake Sharpe.
Oh, we're going to Steamboat Park right
Yep,
there, right?
yep,
Whatever
yep,
the case
yep.
is. Just like bass
And
did it. Okay.
yep, and so we're going to get those fish back. And so if we get one of them big fish, it should be right back there for the anglers to catch another time. So
Okay.
that's working with them, and them allowing that is huge for us. So
Yeah, nope, that'll be great because that's always the hurdle. But you come in here early because it's not a kill
yep,
tournament, so let's
yep.
do the best we can to get those back in. And then live wells in these boats nowadays they're no joke. I mean, it's especially with that cold of water, it's not hard to keep these things alive. I mean, they're
It won't, and you guys all do such a good job with management. I mean, I tip my cap to you for all the stuff that I had to run you through at Sakakawea this last year. It's 97 degrees, and honestly, I mean, we had the folks that were cleaning fish at the end of the weekend. They're like, "That's it." That's all the fish. And I was like, man,
Yep.
these guys did a heck of a job. And yeah, kudos to the live well systems and all of these boats. They do a great job, and you guys do phenomenal. So no doubt in my mind that cold water, regardless of the size of the fish, they're going to be healthy.
It's harder to catch them in your live well than it is in the river sometimes when you get back to get them in that bag. I mean, especially river fish, especially Mississippi river fish.
Yeah,
You're like, man, I can't get a hold of this sucker, and I mean, it's a challenge. So that'll be good. What do we got new? I know there's been a couple changes in NWT. Let's just go down some of those. Any rules? We got payouts. We got here. You tell them.
Yeah, so
I don't need to.
The biggest change that everybody will see and probably talk about, payout structure changed a little bit. It's 1 of 4 payout structure here for 2025, and the payout structure is posted on the NWT website. Folks want to see what that looks like based on 125 boats, paying down to 31 places. So that's a little different than this last year. The The co-angler top payout moved from, I think it was $7,500 last year. It's $10,000 this year, again, based on 125 boat field. But the entry fees did increase as well to kind of support that. And so, we touched on it earlier. Entry fees, obviously, just a portion of what what you're paying, but it all adds up. But we're hoping that being able to give that back out in a larger payout structure and paying down a little bit further, pleases the anglers. It's something that, based on surveys, they asked for, and in order to support it, that was the best way to go about it. And Outdoor Teamworks, the ownership group, they're the ones that make those calls, make those decisions, and I think it was a good idea to be able to listen to the anglers and give them what they've asked for.
Yeah, we like surveys when you read them and go, hey, this is what they asked for. We understand you want a higher payout, you got to pay a higher entry fee, and we're not like the bass world. And it's very hard to get a giant non-endemic sponsor to come in and say, boom, we got it covered. I mean, Bass Pro owns it, and Bass Pro is obviously the biggest sponsor out of that with the boats. That's a big lift on their behalf. So
Yeah, the cash payout on the pro angler side as well with the change there, and then a Ranger 620 and the Mercury combo for the championship will be big. Obviously Ranger's got that high dollar amount as far as value goes, and so that'll be a nice little addition for the championship as well for the pro anglers.
Is the AOI boat a Ranger or a Nitro? I didn't even look.
You know what? I'll be honest. I don't know what they decided. I had not seen that in any of the press releases they have sent to me. I know they're working on one right now with a couple different things, and we'll go from there. The dynamic for NWT is just kind of interesting for me because for MWC and all that, I'm heavily involved in all of the decision making because Federation Angler owns it. We're a hired hand. When it comes to the NWT and Outdoor Teamworks, they, rightfully they make those decisions, and then we follow along with what we need to do. So,
yeah, that's it sucks not having control over stuff when it seems like for the people outside looking in think that it's these guys run it. It's you work with Robert Cartledge, and then Jeff's the face of it basically as the MC and the tournament director, and it's all the decisions and heaven for. I never want to be in your shoes. I'm a tournament director. No thanks. We have a league, and that's enough, but you guys get beat up, and it's like, I'm just doing my job, man. I'm doing what these people want me to do, or this person wants me to do. On the other side, you're like, we can make those decisions right now in real time, where you got to funnel things through different channels, and to hear down, and how long is the leash.
The event. Yeah, at the events, it's I'm the guy to talk to outside of that when it comes payouts and all that. I mean, I'll send you a phone number.
Right. But I'm sure they take your feedback and input.
Absolutely.
And same with the surveys. Yeah. I noticed the other change is the whole party fishing thing. We're keeping both limits this year.
Yeah, so and it's not party fishing per se. I know that's kind of the term that gets thrown around, but there are some states that allow party fishing. There are other states that don't allow party fishing per that statement, or what we understand as rules for party fishing. It's like the term culling. I mean that term is used in different ways, and different states define it differently, and. You want to talk about tournament director and try to stay on top of all those rules and all that. It's crazy. But
it gets real tricky with Minnesota and the 1/20 thing when you're culling. How they don't want you to. You can cull, but you can't cull over your overs. Or it's
wild. So really what it comes down to is last year we stuck with a 1 angler limit in the boat. And it did avoid the situations where you may have to make a decision on whether you cull fish or things like that in states that don't allow party fishing or who caught what fish or stuff like that. But it didn't sound like that's what the anglers necessarily wanted. And so when we went back and looked at things, we went back to each event, as long as we fish permitted, that we're permitted to bring 5 fish to the stage. We're going to let you bring 5 fish to the stage, even if your own angler limit is 3 or 4 or whatnot. It just means that that your or the other angler in the boat will have to share in that limit. They'll have to kind of throw their weight around in places where party fishing may not be allowed. And a state like Wisconsin is really one of the biggest ones. Many of the other states do allow it, but North Dakota doesn't allow it. South Dakota does allow you to party fish. So there, it's not going to be a problem. One angler can put all 5 fish, in the boat, as long as you've got 2 licensed anglers, which you will be,
which you have,
and you agree that your fish are my fish, vice versa type deal. So, that's where that came from. So, it adds a dynamic for you guys as the pros, especially when it comes to the forward-facing sonar, and that's where some of that change gets kind of goofy. Is that we went from maybe some big trolling bites where you can just pick up a rod, hand it off to the guy. The forward-facing sonar is a little bit tougher when you're a little guy on the front of the boat watching a screen, sniping, individual fish. Now you got to say, hey, all right, I got my fish. I need you to do this. This is what I need you to do. And you become the sensei, you become the teacher in a hurry, and as you mentioned before, you really want a good co-angler in this situation.
You do. Yes, you do. I think the co-angler game has stepped up considerably over the last couple of years, though.
Yeah, I think so too.
With the demand of them, they're like, hey, if I'm going to get, because a lot of, nothing against old guys, because I am one now, but jumping in on one because they got it as their wife signed them up as a birthday present and haven't been fishing in 20 years, and he's 85 years old and has back problems, we're going to have an issue. Yeah. Right. I mean, there's not a lot of sitting down going on in today's fishing. So now you're getting a little younger demographic, or just more committed guys, whether they want to move up in it or not, or, a lot of them, they just want to learn, and they're going to take that back and go fish an AIM circuit or an MWC thing, whatever it may be. But they're eager, they're ready to learn. And now the fact that, okay, I need you to catch fish because it's Wisconsin. I got my 3, I'm done, but we need to bring 5. So, and I remember this in North Dakota for a championship 2 years ago on doubles. We did Wisconsin that one year. Was whoever's holding the rod when the fish comes over the the guttles is the catch, whatever. Well, when you got like a 6-7 pounder on, you ain't handing the rod off. It's net it, And I remember netting one and going, "Oh, I'm done. I got that was it. I got my 5, but we still got 4 hours." And 1 or 2 more spots to open up. And, I took care of the fish, put a live on, and went, oh, hell, I'm done. All right. And it was kind of like, all right, well, we got I got my 5, we got a decent bag, but we still got a whole bunch of time. So it was, all right, go up front here, put this bait on, do this, and immediately I caught like a 3 or 4 pounder. And I was like, we still got a ton of time, throw it back. It's like, do this. And bam, he got like a 5 or 6. I'm like, that's good. Let's go, But he had a whole new perspective from sitting in the back of the boat. Now he's in the front. And he's like, oh, now I see why you were doing what you were doing with jerking the boat around and moving some white bass and stuff like that. So you need to become a teacher, because speak for a lot of the pros last year with 3 fish or 4, whatever it was. A lot of the co's kind of were out of it, in a sense, out of the game. And there's so many guys locked in on that forward facing. Now this year you got some bigger fisheries and Dunkirk and Huron, where the trolling game's probably going to come into play, and then you're all all hands on deck working. But Sharpe and La Crosse, the system kind of with those 2 rivers, you could very easily be pulling lead and bouncers and all sorts of stuff. So versus last year, the co-anglers should be pretty engaged, I think. So if they're hesitant to sign up, don't be, because this is a year where you're going to get plenty of opportunity and playing hands on.
Yeah, they're gonna be needed, and really, I'm glad you touched on that, because it really, the dynamic of those co-anglers, the way they come and talk to me quite a bit, and they've really enjoyed learning from the pro anglers, especially over the course of the last few years with that forward facing sonar becoming such a big deal. Um, it, uh, it is pretty cool for them to watch how something is done, and watching it's like a light switch in you guys as
Yep.
pros going, oh, here's what we've got going on, this is what we're doing, and then watching it come to fruition and be like, all right, we're casting this way, we're doing it this way. You listen to any one of these pros of, I mean, I think of Hoyer on the stage at Lake Erie, and I mean, those are big waves out there, and he's sitting there
Yeah.
and he's like, I noticed that when I would drag the bait in front of the fish one way, they would give it
Yeah.
a little turn, but if I went the other way, they would turn around all the way for it. I was like, are you kidding me? Like that's the stuff that some of those coos, even if they weren't the ones catching fish, or they're picking up on some of that stuff. It's those intricacies that we talked about earlier, that are going to make a
Yep.
difference, and they learn that from the pros. And this time around, they'll get a chance to hands on actually sit there
Yep.
and get them that way.
Yeah, it's with the forward facing sonar, I taught everybody a lot about it can just be about angles. You
Yeah,
can see the fish, you can't get it to bite, but you need to work that boat all the way over this way all of a sudden, just like
yeah,
John said, and wham, a lot of that
yeah,
is current, and there's current on the Great Lakes,
yep,
and how
yep,
that bait is presented makes them go, now that looks something real. I'm going to eat it versus
yep.
there's no way that thing's going against the current way too fast. That's not. I'll look at him. That's more of no way, man. So
Yeah,
they got little tiny brains, but they still outsmart us sometimes. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah,
no.
for sure.
All right. Well, we got we've been rambling on here for an hour already. There's so much excitement in the fish tournament world. I'm ready to go. I'm really pumped up for the Lake Sharpe one, and I'm ready to get out here in just a couple days and get back on the river. Anything to leave our listeners with? You got one little tip or nugget to share with them?
We touched on it earlier. I was going to talk about how, if you're considering getting into fishing tournaments, club level, you find your local club, your walleye club, bass club, it don't matter. Get yourself involved. Not only are you going to probably find some lifelong friends and people that you can
Yep.
use to network and things like that, but you want to increase your fishing knowledge, that's the way to do it. It's the week in, it's the week out, it's the big opportunities. Come and be a co with the NWT, jump on the MWC, bring a friend. Throw a little money around. I know it's hard to say right now in today's economic times, but it will increase your knowledge tenfold. And even just watching any kind of YouTube video or trying to learn on your own, the wealth of knowledge that's in any one of these events is tremendous. And I would say every one of you guys out there as pros, as MWC guys, NTC guys, is always willing to talk in some capacity about, how, what, where, and when, and I take advantage of that. Network with these people. I get all the time. I'm
Yep.
sure you do too. How do I get sponsors? How do I, man,
Good question.
it is relationship. It's relationship.
Yeah.
It's, I'd love to say that if you just cash a check at every event, you're going to get a sponsor. But if
No.
you don't know anybody, if nobody knows who you are, it's going to be hard, and we're not talking famous. We're talking just, if you know Brian knows so-and-so. I mean, he can at least here's the email. Hey, maybe he can't make the relationship happen, but hey, here's an email, and so
Yep.
get involved in the events. Love to see you on any level, and I'm looking forward to the 25 season getting rolling.
Good stuff. It is like you said, it's tough in this economic kind of stage we're at now with things costing a fair amount, but you're investing in yourself.
Mhm.
When you do these things, whether you win or lose, and whether maybe you never win or even do well, you're investing in your quality of life.
Yep.
Because you're doing something you love, you're outdoors, you're getting that vitamin D, soaking in the sun, you're with
Yep.
friends, making friends and networking. And
Yep.
you can't get that from, a lot of other sports and places like that.
Yep.
Short seasons, we fish, in South Dakota pretty much all year long. So there's
Yeah.
always something. There's a good little bond, brought in with your fishing buddies and even just the tournament circuit. Everybody that fishes, we'll butt heads on the water, but after when we get off the water, we're still friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Chemos or I cut Chemos off or he cut and we're cussing at each other on the lake, but when we get off, we'll go to dinner together or something.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, you
exactly.
jerk, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just what Jeff says, boat one, and then it goes. There's just a little switch that is flipped.
There's a switch.
And,
There's a
and
switch.
rightfully it should be. But after
Yep.
when Jeff says 24 pounds and you're in first or last, there's another switch, and you can turn that one back off for a little bit and be like, okay,
That's right.
now we're friends again. So it's all
We're friends again.
it's all good. All right, Jeff. Well, thanks a ton for coming on. Everybody's going to appreciate all this deep insight. I look forward to seeing you here just shortly, in a month away here at Lake Sharpe.
Yep.
Good luck at MWC at Spring Valley. Take your bibs. Hope it's not cold. Hope it's not snowy and icy. We'll all pray for some good.
Yeah,
you
bring the bibs and the shorts to be fine. Just a real quick reminder: March 17th for Spring Valley. If you are registered or you are qualified for the NTC this year, you've got till March 15th. Don't forget that sign up date.
Yeah.
If you have the invitation link from your local club, get in there. If you are expecting a link and don't have it, get a hold of the club manager and get it so that you can get signed up. If you missed that date, I'm sorry, you're out. And then April 7th is your final deadline for the NWT in Pier. So get yourself signed up for that as well as a co-angler. I think we're on standby for co's, but get yourself signed up for a pro if you want. So.
Man, that's literally a month away for that. I better count my pennies quick. The NTC, I am that guy, and I think I got all of our clubs signed up. Is there another round of spots that will come out after that deadline?
We've got allocations after that based on club membership, things like that that they'll go out. So it's not that you're necessarily out, but if you have an invitation that's good right now from a qualifying spot and you missed that March 15th date, you're not going to be part of the allocation. The allocation's for a different set of anglers. So,
yep. All right. So you're saying there's still a chance for some of you out there. So the guys at the very bottom of our team of the year list, there's still a chance you may come around. So,
that's right.
But we got just about all of our guys in. So looking forward to the NTC. That's going to be fun, big turnout, and we're going to keep pumping up that event until it comes. Hoping to get big crowds and stuff. There's going to be a good time. So, all righty. Thank you, Jeff, and thank all you for tuning into this episode of Real Talk Fishing with No Limits. And stay safe, and we'll see you on the water.
Thanks.